You know that gut-wrenching feeling when you realize everything you thought was true was just a meticulously crafted lie? Imagine discovering your own parents, the people who raised you, secretly branded you as unstable and then stole from your children's future, all while inviting other kids, and even their dog, to the kid-free party you weren't allowed to bring your own kids to. Seriously, what would you do if your family pulled a stunt like that? The rage that hit me that day was so fast, it felt like my vision literally blurred. I remember standing there, phone in hand, staring at the screen like it had personally slapped me across the face. All those years of being sidelined, minimized, told not to take things personally, it all erupted in that single, furious instant. Just 2 weeks before, my mom had called. "Rihanna," she said, all sweet and light, "your dad and I are doing something really simple and quiet for our 30th anniversary. Just a small, adult-only gathering. We just want a calm celebration. Let's keep it kid-free." Kid-free. That's the word she used. Like my 3 children, my sweet, smart 10-year-old, my energetic 7-year-old, and my curious little 4-year-old, were chaotic burdens instead of the actual grandchildren they always pretended to love. I didn't argue. I really should have, but I'd played the good daughter for far too long. So I told my kids, "Grandma and Grandpa just need a quiet night this year. We'll do something together with them later." They bought it. They always buy it. And then the video dropped. My cousin Alyssa, the self-proclaimed queen of social media, posted it completely by accident. It was a full panoramic shot of the party, champagne flutes, my parents grinning in coordinated outfits, the house decked out like a wedding reception, a 5-day cake, a live jazz band, balloon arches, and kids everywhere. Alyssa's new stepkids were chasing each other around the gift table. My sister's old college roommate's toddler was literally sitting in my mom's lap while she helped him open a present. There were other kids too, ones I didn't even recognize. And right there, at the foot of that massive cake table, was my mom's dog, wearing a silver party hat. I don't even know what part snapped inside me first. Was it the outright lie about it being kid-free? Or the gut-punching fact that my children weren't even worth a courtesy mention, while some random toddler got lap privileges? But then I saw it. The framed certificate. Center stage. Royal Caribbean. 7-night cruise. Paid in full. That was the final crack. Back in April, my dad had called me, sounding frantic. "Rihanna, the roof repairs just ate our savings. Our dream anniversary trip. It's at risk." I didn't even ask questions. I sent them $6,000 the very next morning. I just did it because that's what they always expected of me. The responsible daughter. The helper. The quiet one. I took a screenshot of that damn certificate and texted it to my dad with one single line, returning to sender. 2 hours later, there was loud, frantic knocking on my front door. When I opened it, there he was. My dad, out of breath, red-faced, clearly not expecting me to say anything out loud. But I didn't hesitate. I looked him straight in the eye and shouted. "So, it was common enough for Alyssa's stepkids, a random toddler, and your dog, but not for your own grandchildren." He just stood there, shifting his weight, like he didn't know whether to yell or beg. I didn't invite him in. He stepped forward anyway. "You're being dramatic," he said. That was his opening line. Not an apology. Not a "let me explain." Just an accusation. I didn't answer. I just turned, walked into the kitchen, and let the silence stretch, long enough for him to follow. He did. Always has to be the one talking. He tried to spin it. Said they didn't plan to have kids there, but people just showed up with them. Said my cousin's stepkids weren't even supposed to come. That it all just happened last minute. Apparently, my mom hadn't wanted to hurt my feelings, so she just didn't say anything. I actually laughed at that. Like lying and excluding us somehow hurt less. Then came the real reason for his visit. "You didn't mean that text, right? About the money." I didn't answer right away. I watched his face carefully, and in that second, I saw it clearly. The fear. Not of losing me. Not of losing the relationship with his grandkids. But of losing control. Of losing access. I told him I wanted the money back. All of it. The $6,000 for the cruise. The $1,200 from last year for Mom's emergency dental work. The $800 from when they couldn't cover the insurance deductible. I had receipts. He went quiet. Then he had the audacity to say, "That's family. We help each other." I asked him what part of that included lying to me and excluding my children from a celebration while someone else's toddler ate cake on my mom's lap. He didn't answer. He just left. A few days passed. No apology. No check. No message. Nothing. Then I got a text from my mom. "Short. Sharp. We've done everything for you. You're lucky we even let you come around as long as you have. You think your kids are special." That was the final switch for me. I started looking through my accounts. My parents were on a few of them, things I'd opened for them during their rough patches. I started the process of removing them. Bank access, emergency contacts, everything. Even their cell phone plan, which I'd been paying for since 2019. Gone. 3 days later, my mom called from a new number. Left a voicemail about how ungrateful I was and how this behavior would ruin the family. That's when the guilt campaign began. And they used the only thing they thought still mattered to me, my children. They asked my sister to bring over a few gifts they'd forgotten to give to my kids. She showed up unannounced with 2 bags. Cheap, rushed presents. But the point wasn't the stuff. It was the message. We still love the kids. Don't punish them for your drama. I didn't let Ho in, and I didn't take the gifts. That night, I sat down and wrote everything out. Every dollar I'd given them. Every sacrifice I'd made to help them. Every moment I'd chosen them over my own peace. I sent the list to my aunt and uncle, my dad's brother and his wife. They'd always been the quiet ones in the background, never really involved in the drama. I didn't expect a reply, but I got one the next day. "Let's talk. We've seen more than you think." When I saw that message from my Uncle Ray, I had to read it twice. "Let's talk. We've seen more than you think." Coming from him, that wasn't just casual. Uncle Ray had always been the polite, hands-off one. Never took sides. Never stirred the pot. But that text? That felt like the ground shifting under my feet. We met at a small diner 2 towns over. He brought my Aunt Karen, who usually stayed silent in family matters. That day, she didn't. They didn't waste time. Karen pulled out a small notebook. "We've been keeping track," she said, her voice low. "We just didn't know if you were ready." Turns out, they'd seen a lot over the years. My parents borrowing money from me behind closed doors, then telling everyone they were the ones helping me. They'd heard my mom bragging about the cruise at Bridge Club weeks before the party, saying, "Thank God Rihanna was good for it." But what hit hardest was hearing that my parents had always framed me as the unstable one in the family. Karen told me word for word what my mom had once said: "Rihanna's kids are sweet, but they are a lot. She struggles. It's best we give her space." Space, that's what it was called now. Then my uncle looked me dead in the eye and asked, "Do you want your money back?" I blinked. He meant it. I told him yes. Not just for the money. For the principle. For the disrespect. For being used and lied to for years and told it was love. He said he'd help, that they had a family attorney they trusted. He'd cover the retainer. Said it was time someone in the family stood up to my parents. When I got home that night, something in me had shifted. I felt it. This wasn't just a boundary. This was a line in the sand. And apparently, my parents felt it too. Because 2 days later, they showed up again. Together. No warning. They stood on my porch like they were about to deliver some royal decree. My mom had her arms crossed, and my dad had that blank, calm face he always used before saying something cruel in a soft voice. My mom started and immediately said she wanted to mend the rift and see the kids. Said she was willing to forget this entire meltdown if I just let things go. I didn't say a word. I walked inside, grabbed the envelope I'd prepared, copies of every transaction I'd made for them, and handed it to her. She opened it, glanced through it, and said, "Is this supposed to scare us?" I looked at her and said, "No. It's just a receipt for everything I'm done giving." Then I shut the door, and this time I locked it. The next morning, the text came from my dad. "We didn't raise you to be like this." I didn't reply. I was too busy forwarding documents to Uncle Ray's attorney, a calm, methodical woman named Lisa, who, within minutes of reading my summary, said plainly, "This isn't just reimbursement. It's financial manipulation, and we can prove it." By that afternoon, she drafted a demand letter. Nothing hostile, just professional and precise. It laid out the payments I'd made, the verbal agreements we could support with texts and voicemails, and a 30-day deadline for repayment before small claims action would begin. Lisa said the amount, $6,000 plus a bit more, was solid. If they didn't respond, we'd file. I felt calm, almost too calm. It scared me how quickly I'd gotten used to treating them like strangers. But I wasn't prepared for what happened next. That night, my sister posted a photo on Instagram. Our parents in her backyard, smiling around a fire pit with her and her roommate, drinks in hand. In the caption, she wrote, "Grateful for real family who doesn't keep score." I stayed at it for a while, not because I was surprised she took their side, but because of what I saw in the background. A notebook. My notebook. The one I kept in my kitchen drawer where I jotted down payment dates, amounts, little reminders like Dad's oil change and Mum's prescription coverage. And there it was, lying open on a side table behind my dad's chair. I hadn't even realized it was missing. They had taken it the day they showed up uninvited, while they were trying to mend the rift. I texted Lisa immediately. She called within minutes. "They took personal records from your home without permission? That's not just unethical. Depending on how they use it, it's potentially criminal. You need to document this now." So I did. I took screenshots, wrote a statement, and filed a police report the next morning for stolen property. Not because I expected a squad car to pull into their driveway, but to create a paper trail. It didn't take long before I got another message. This time, not from them. It was from my cousin Alyssa, the one who had posted the original party video. "Hey, I'm really sorry. I didn't know they lied to you about the party. They said you were out of town." Out of town. That was their version now. I asked her if she still had the original invite. She did, and she sent me a screenshot. My mom's name, a full guest list, a note at the bottom, kid-friendly event. Feel free to bring the whole family. My name wasn't on it. Lisa was stunned. They weren't careless. They were deliberate. And now we've got hard evidence. But that wasn't the unexpected part. The next evening, I got a knock on my door. But this time, it wasn't my parents. It was Karen, my aunt, holding a small folder and what looked like a grocery bag. She handed me the bag first. Inside was my notebook, untouched. "I went over to help your mom clean out the garage," she said, her eyes gentle. "Found this on her desk. She doesn't know I took it." Then she opened the folder. Inside were bank statements. "His and Uncle Ray's. I saw your sister's post," she said, "and I saw something else. Your mom's been pulling money from an account Ray set up for our grandkids." My jaw dropped. She used it to pay off the cruise balance. I looked at her, completely stunned. "She didn't just lie to you," Karen said, her voice firm. "She stole from us, too." And suddenly, I wasn't the only one preparing for court. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat at my kitchen table with the folder Karen had given me, flipping through pages of statements, transfers, and names. My mom had rerouted over $2,000 from a college fund my uncle had quietly started for their grandkids years ago. Funds he never mentioned because, as he later told me, I wanted to leave something behind without all the family noise. And now that money had gone to a Caribbean cruise, lobster buffet, poolside margaritas. Lisa was stunned again. "This changes everything," she said. "It's no longer just your claim. We have multiple cases of misrepresentation, maybe even fraud." That week, Karen and Uncle Ray both retained Lisa officially. I watched them sign the paperwork at her office. Ray didn't say much. He just looked tired. But when he handed me a check later that day to cover my $6,000 while we waited for legal action, I actually teared up. "I want you to use this how you want," he said. "Not for bills. Not for court. For you and the kids." I didn't answer then, but I knew what I was going to do with it. My parents didn't stay quiet for long. Word got around somehow that Lisa had sent official letters. Maybe my sister told them. Maybe they saw the police report come through. But either way, the next move came fast. They posted on Facebook a long, dramatic post from my mom with a filtered photo of her and my dad looking tearful on the beach. The caption read, "30 years of love and loyalty now being torn apart by lies and greed. Some people think money matters more than family, but the truth always finds a way. We'll keep praying for those who've lost their way." The comments were brutal. Dozens of sympathizers, mostly church friends, neighbors, cousins we barely knew, all piling on. "Praying for you. Stay strong. Family comes first." It would have gutted me a year ago. But now? I just took a screenshot and sent it to Lisa. Then, the next day, my sister showed up again. This time with our mom in the car parked down the street, clearly visible but pretending not to watch. My sister handed me a handwritten letter. I didn't open it. "You're seriously tearing the whole family apart over a few $1,000s." I told her I wasn't discussing anything outside of legal channels anymore. That's when she said it. "They're thinking about suing you for defamation. For emotional distress." I stared at her for a second, then said calmly, "Let them." And I meant it. Because here's what I knew. The more they pushed, the more they exposed themselves. Lisa had already gathered everything. The invite, the notebook, the bank records, the voicemail, the fake narrative, the witnesses, all of it. My parents thought they were playing chess, but I had stopped playing their game. And that weekend, I did something I hadn't done in years. I booked a vacation. Just me and the kids. A place by the coast with a rental cabin and zero-cell service. I wasn't going to post about it. I wasn't going to tell anyone. But when I saw that confirmation email, the one that said paid in full, I finally let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. And I smiled. The first morning at the cabin, I woke up to sunlight streaming through the windows and the sound of my youngest whispering, "Mom, there are deer outside." No notifications, no emails, no drama, just a mug of coffee, the scent of pine, and my kids playing a board game on the floor like it was 1998. It was the first time in years I felt peace without guilt. We spent those 7 days swimming in the lake, roasting marshmallows, and falling asleep to the sound of crickets instead of phones buzzing. I didn't check Facebook. I didn't open texts. I turned off every alert. I didn't owe anyone anything. One evening, we were sitting around the fire pit and my oldest asked, "Are Grandma and Grandpa still mad?" I looked at him and just said, "I don't know, honey, and it's not our problem anymore, guys." It wasn't. That was the difference. Now, when we got home, I found a certified letter in my mailbox from their lawyer. Except it wasn't what I expected. It was a short, official notice stating they had no intention of moving forward with legal action. Lisa called it a bluff withdrawal. They figured out pretty quickly who had the stronger case. She said they folded. But what really got me wasn't the letter. It was what came the next week. A package. No return name, just a small white box. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper, was my mother's wedding ring. The note said, "Maybe this means more to you now than it does to us." It didn't. I dropped it at a pawn shop on the other side of town. Didn't even look at the price. I used the cash to buy the kids' bikes. They deserve movement. Forward. Free. Fast. I haven't heard from them since, but Karen calls every Sunday. Ray sends postcards to the kids from random diners he finds on his motorcycle trips. Last month, Lisa helped finalize a court agreement requiring my parents to repay the loan in monthly installments, tracked and enforceable. We didn't do it for the money. We did it for the record. And every time I see that line on my bank statement, deposit, $250, court settlement, I feel one thing. Freedom. Not revenge. Not bitterness. Just closure. Because the truth is, they didn't cut me out. I walked away, and I took the best parts of my life with me. For the first time in decades, I wasn't the designated fixer, the good daughter, the financial safety net. I was just Rihanna, a mom of 3 who finally realized that love without respect isn't love at all. I started small. Morning walks, journaling, reading to my kids at bedtime without my phone buzzing on the counter. I picked up new hobbies I never thought I'd have time for. Painting with my youngest, teaching my middle child how to bake bread, helping my oldest with his science project without being distracted by the constant guilt calls. And with each day, I felt lighter, like I was stepping out of a fog I hadn't even realized I'd been living in. My kids noticed it too. They stopped asking when we'd see Grandma and Grandpa. They stopped waiting for promises that never came. Instead, they leaned into the life we had right in front of us. Playdates, camping trips, Saturday pancakes, real family, the kind that shows up, not because they have to, but because they want to. One evening, while tucking my youngest into bed, she looked at me with her big eyes and whispered, "Mom, are we enough?" I froze for a second. Then, I pulled her close and kissed her forehead. "You're more than enough, baby. You're everything." That was the moment I knew I had made the right choice. Not just for me, but for them. For their future, their peace, their sense of what family truly means. Because family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up when you need them most. And sometimes the hardest, bravest thing you can do is walk away from the people who share your DNA but not your respect. So now, when I think back to that night, the video, the cruise, the lies, the exclusion, I don't feel rage anymore. I feel clarity. It wasn't the first time they lied to me, but it was the last time I let it break me. And every time I see my kids riding their bikes, wind in their hair, laughter spilling into the air, I remember exactly where the money from that pawned wedding ring went. Into freedom, into joy, into us. I don't know if my parents will ever try to reach out again. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll never speak to me for the rest of my life. But either way, I'm at peace with it because I finally learned that my worth was never measured by how much I could give them. It was always measured by the love I poured into the people who mattered most, my children. And that's something no one can take away from me. So, yes, they lost a daughter, but I didn't lose a family. I found one, right here under my own roof, around my own table, in the quiet laughter of my kids as they drift to sleep. Have you ever faced a similar situation where you had to make a really tough choice about family? What did you do? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below.